All right, welcome back. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into our low-key self-portrait. So the materials you're going to need for this is our favorite chamois, okay? Wow. Okay, you're going to need an eraser, something like this. Optional thing you can utilize for this assignment would be a sanding stick. So this is the way the sanding stick works. If you have an eraser that's getting pretty dirty, you can go ahead and just sand it down a little bit and restore your eraser. The other advantage is if you're working with like a stick of Conte or charcoal, you can actually sand it down to a finer point if you want to do some detail work there. In addition to a stick of black Conte and a stick of white charcoal or Conte, I myself selected some General's charcoal, just like so. Okay, and you'll find that charcoal is going to lay down a mass tone across your paper, and you're going to prepare a ground. So preparing a ground is just a fancy word for laying down this tone into the paper, so we're not working into the paper. So keep in mind, we're working a low-key self-portrait, or actually I'll say portrait in this case. So the other thing you're going to need for this assignment is you're going to need to print off a photo in black and white and make those values pretty dark. In this case, I took a photo. I went to Photoshop and I used the value tools rather, to push it down to a low-key value concentration. And you're more than welcome to do the same thing. I do want this to be a photo you've taken yourself. Please, I don't want to see Jim Carrey or LeBron James self-portraits, okay? Make these, it doesn't necessarily have to be a self-portrait, but it does need to be a portrait that you yourself have taken a picture of. Now, I'm not grading you on the likeness, so don't freak out, but rather what I'm doing is I'm just grading you on the overall effort. So let me go ahead and show you how we're going to get started on this assignment. I'm going to start with my eraser, believe it or not. After I prepared my ground, in the interest of time, I already got this ready, but all you need to do that is just take your General's charcoal, gonna lay down a nice thick black coat of charcoal, and you'll have to do this in 2 or 3 steps, just repeating this. And then in between that, you're just gonna take your chamois and smooth it out, and then I would just repeat until you get something about in this neighborhood. All right, we're looking for a darker value, something 1 through 3. 5 minutes time. All right, you don't need to spend 30 minutes making this black as black could be, okay? Not necessary. Just get it kind of dark, about 5 minutes or so of building up a nice dark ground to work into. Now I'm going to use my photo as a reference, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by using my eraser. I'm going to come in and start to grab these bigger shapes. So a former professor of mine, his name is Adrian Van Suchelen, and he was a phenomenal art professor and an artist alike. And what he did is he described that the artist's job is largely to find good shapes. And we're shape hunters. That's what we do as artists. So that's all I'm doing in this assignment. I'm looking for the bigger shapes. So look at my photo reference here. I have a nice big sort of like moon crescent shaped C going on right here on my neck. All right, so I'm just going to use my eraser, start to pull out these larger values, and I'm just going to try to copy that shape. Now, as we're doing this, I'm going to start looking like I'm straight out of the Blair Witch Project, and that's okay. That's the way this project kind of will come together. Now, don't be afraid to kind of refer to some of those finished examples on your Canvas page in terms of what previous students have completed. Okay, so I'm coming in here and I'm just erasing out these larger values. A key landmark for me is I can see that I've got this lighter value that kind of goes above my eye here on the zygomatic arch down to the nose. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing out these values. So you can see it's kind of a ghosted image and it's sort of eerie, but it's actually kind of interesting, right? That's the cool thing about working a reductive low-key work. So I definitely need to include a little bit more of a forehead here. Hairline kind of coming back here. This is sort of a guess, and I could come in and get a little bit more accurate later in my drawing process. But then here's my back shoulder, and then my other shoulder is coming off in this direction right here, just like so. Okay. And obviously, I don't have the time to take you all the way through this drawing process. But what I do want to do in this demo is to make it real clear on how to start. And I'm just going to come back and forth and grab these bigger values using my eraser, just like so. Okay, and I am shaping in the basic form. Edge of my ear might be over here. Now, I'll be honest with you, I might end up adjusting that later in my drawing. That was sort of a guess, okay, at this stage. And yeah, I can invent a little bit. That might be the edge of my collar. Okay, now can you see how I'm starting to develop this larger drawing? Now I have a lot larger shape over here on my cheek, and it's a lot lighter in value. So, and that, again, comes back to our shadow sphere. That's our highlight. Our light source is coming from over there on the left. Now my eyes remain pretty much in shadow, so I don't necessarily want to take a lot of value there outside of the eyes. I'm going to pull a little bit more out here on the forehead. Okay, so I would keep refining these shapes. Interestingly enough, here in the background, it's actually lighter value, so I might pull that out a little bit. It's a little bit lighter value here, but I don't know if I'm going to get too carried away in that background shape quite yet, but just so you know, it's a little bit lighter. So you can start to come in, mass in these bigger shapes. I'm going to fast forward a little bit further into the process. Once you've developed these shapes that you're kind of happy with, then you're going to come in here again with your Conte or charcoal, but I really like using the Conte at this stage. The difference between Conte and charcoal is the following. The Conte is a medium compressed charcoal, and the Generals is a little bit softer compression. So it's a little bit tougher and denser of a drawing material, and so you can lay down a little bit darker lines. So it doesn't lay down quite as easily a ground, but then when you start to draw, it's going to hold your line a lot better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start to define the edge of my portrait. I'm really looking at what we call the exterior contour line, or that outside edge, okay? And so I have kind of a round, chubby face, so I can use that line right there to kind of speak of that. Now the eyebrow might be in here, okay? Bottom of the nostril is probably right about in here. And I can just continue to develop my drawing, going back and forth between using my eraser and my Conte and charcoal. So you can see this is still a really early stage. Now, I'm not recommending you use the white charcoal yet, but again, I want to show you how you can use the white charcoal at some point. So use it sparingly, much like you did on the shadow sphere, but I'm seeing a really nice highlight here. I'm seeing a nice highlight down here. There's a highlight on my teeth, which I haven't even started to develop yet, right? But if I wanted to, eventually I could come in and I could use this white charcoal to start to develop, like there's the edge of my nose, this nice highlight that's running up the side plane here. Okay, again, don't jump in using the charcoal too early. I'll go ahead and mass in where my teeth might be, but you can see it's still pretty early for that stage. And then there might be a little bit of a highlight here as well. Okay, so you can see from this dark ground, I'm starting to develop this figure, and it's going to be kind of mysterious and kind of cool. Now, if you look at a lot of the examples from previous students that are on the PowerPoint that's on the Canvas site there, you're going to notice that their face almost looks like it's smashed on a surface. And that's because it was. What we did in class is we had the advantage of being able to head up to the Xerox machine, laying our heads down on the Xerox machine, and making a Xerox copy. But again, you can do the same thing on your phone or on a computer and generate something like this. I highly suggest printing it out. Worst case scenario, if you're going to be working from your phone, my plea is turn your settings off so your phone stays on that image for like 15-minute increments, so you're not constantly going back and fidgeting with your phone to keep that image up there. Okay, so here's what you're going to end up with as you continue to work, is something that's more refined, a little bit more three-dimensional than what I have here. Now, do your best to keep the proportions in place. Later in the quarter, we're going to really delve into the proportions and the human figure. But for now, the way you get credit on this is for turning in something that is low-key in nature. So, how long should you spend on this assignment? I would say upwards of about 2 to 3 hours in order to create a nice drawing. If you go a little bit further, even better. But really, don't dial it in and just turn something in like this that you've only spent a little bit of time on. Okay, so about 3 hours of work, starting with that dark ground. Again, you're going to need Conte and charcoal, or one or the other. You'll be able to get by a chamois, a couple of erasers, like a pink pearl eraser, your sanding stick, a photo, and you're in business. Okay, try to fill the vast majority of your sketchbook. And I look forward to reviewing your future posts and getting some feedback from your peers on your awesome work. And that's about it. Please message me with any questions, concerns, and I am here to answer each and every one. All right, well, have fun with this. Draw, 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 sketch, 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 and show me what you can produce using this low-key reductive ground technique. All right. You guys have fun, and we'll be in contact soon. Take care. Bye-bye.